Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Tara Diulis. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and you're listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON. Brought to you by KGRADB.com. I hope you go to their website and check them out and subscribe. There's so much great content on there. As always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, the Colorado State Director. Tonight, we have good friend Alan B. Smith. You can see Alan on the Mystic Lounge, and I am just so excited to get to talk to him here shortly. I wanted to give you guys a heads up. Today is the last day, so you have till midnight to get those early bird tickets for Contact in the Desert. Contact in the Desert is back live June 2nd through the 4th. It's held in Indian Wells, California, and you could go to their website at www.contactinthedesert.com to get in on those early bird ticket prices. Again, those end tonight at midnight. Also, KGRA will be out there at the UFO Expo March 10th, 11th, and 12th out there in Roswell, New Mexico. So we hope to see you out there as well. I'd like to bring in my co-hosts. We have Tara Diulis. You can see Tara right here on KGRA on Sky Tour Live with Mark D'Antonio. Hi, Tara. How you doing?
What's up, Katie? Good to see you.
What's up? What's up? I'm a little hyper today. I've been just working nonstop, so I'm just like on a buzzing. Like anyway, I need
Must be in the air.
Need some meditation.
Okay.
Well, let's bring in Chris. Chris, Jerry, and Jenna. How you doing, Chris? Chris is the state director of New York, and Chris is also on ERT. How you doing, Chris?
I am doing great. I'm here with my two good friends, Jenna and the alien formerly known as Jay, that he wants to now be known as the alien formerly known as Jay. He's incognito because he's in a little bit of trouble.
Is that a clown nose?
What is on his face?
I need my glasses because he's in trouble, and we're gonna get to that later and stuff.
He's in disguise.
Anyways, I want to say thank you to Dee Salvatore Cadillas and Genghis Hager and all the people in the chat room, Susan Lawrence, Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan, or whatever the hell it is.
I know I really messed that up a couple weeks ago.
And of course, Ronald from ERT, you guys are there. So anyways, hello to all of you.
Yeah, they're all awesome people that follow us. We appreciate you being here.
We do appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah.
Where do you pick us up, Tara?
Oh, Amanda, throw up our meme if you would, please. Check this out here. A UFO has been pulled over on the moon. So here's this alien being interrogated by an alien cop who's saying, so let's see if I have this straight. You were cruising past the moon, minding your own business, when suddenly this cow jumped out of nowhere. And next to them, of course, the cow's laying on his back with his legs stretched out. So he must have hit it. It's so fun.
No.
I like that one. Of course, aliens have no idea what the good part of the beef is.
They only take like the eye, the ears.
They take the asshole and the eyes. I mean, how do you cook an asshole?
They want the blood. They take the blood.
It's what you grow up with, from what I understand. So yes.
I'll tell you, anytime they want to do a cattle mutilation, let me know so I can get the steaks.
Oh,
I'll go help them.
Oh, nothing's like a good steak. Yeah, hey, check these out. I found these cute alien booties on Etsy. They're baby booties. Aren't they funny?
Baby booties. Get them started young.
Well, it sent me down this path of an alien UFO footwear, as you can see. And so I found these Vans, and there's some Converse. And then there's all these great collection of high tops, and including like these 3D alien high tops.
Oh, my God. Were they on acid when they created
I
that?
know. I mean, I kind of
Hurts
makes me
my
want
eyes.
to.
Oh my god! Oh, I need to get a pair before the expo in Roswell. I
Isn't
gotta
that fun?
sport those. Oh, I like
Well,
those.
then you get into these hand painted street art shoes, and
Oh yeah, they're dropping
Oh.
right
acid.
there, those are really
Oh, yeah.
cool.
It's like the Cheshire Cat. Oh, those are fun. Look at those.
So these
Oh,
are the
now
high
the
heels
heels.
for that perfect size 6, of course.
Yeah, wouldn't you
know.
want like to go on a blind date and have some lady show up in heels like that at a nice classy restaurant? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she'd
Yeah,
probably be very
okay.
cool.
She is
woman.
out of this world,
She
man.
is, man. She'd be very tall.
Shoot.
Check
Shoot.
out these felted slippers. So those are showing the UFO, and then these are hand painted and embroidered slippers there too, and they're just really fun. So you can get your shoes on at Etsy, everyone. if
Nice.
you're
Kick
alien,
back, put on your slippers, have some soup and some toast with butter.
and be among friends, your alien friends. And then if you're craving something sweet, of course, you can have this double squash.
Ooh.
You know, paranormal
That looks
pop,
good.
gluten-free cookie.
And
It
I'm
looks
hungry.
yummy. I know. Well, that big cookie and a lot of more other yummy stuff can be found at paranormalpops.com. So, hey, Chris, what do you got for us today? What's up?
In the news?
Yeah.
The news.
Oh,
Buckle
I
your
like that. Wait a minute.
seatbelts.
Where's my glasses? This is a Jerry. This is a formerly known as
I
Jerry.
can relate. I can relate.
Dun, da, da, da. Okay, here's
Okay.
the first story of the
Hold on.
news.
Drum roll, please, Katie.
You're gonna like this one.
Got it?
Got it?
And I'll be honest with you, I think Jerry's part of this. E.T. ruined my marriage. I was abducted by aliens who put an implant in my arm, which led to my divorce, husband claims. A man has claimed that aliens ruined his life when an implant was inserted in his arm during an abduction. There you go, Jerry, leading to his divorce. Steve Colburn from the United States said his outlook on life had changed after boarding a UFO hundreds of times. Mr. Colburn explained the incident. You think that's bad? Wait until you get the bill for the ride. Mr. Colburn explained the incident which began when he found a UFO hovering over an avocado tree. Okay,
Oh my
after
goodness.
Maybe they love avocados. I
Who
would.
doesn't?
Okay, let's get on with this. After walking over to the unknown object, he pulled up into the spaceship by a green beam. Mr. Colburn says that he then brought to a medical station in the ship where he was instructed to lie down on the table.
Uh-oh.
They used a long instrument and
Yeah,
was
never
like
good.
a piece of stainless steel tubing that had a fiber optic inside that transmitted ultraviolet lights and had a device on the end that would dispense the implants and put them into the subject, Steve explained. When the abduction was over, Steve said nothing was ever the same again. It does make it a lot more difficult to get along down there. He said it seems almost irrelevant sometimes, the things that humans do. Well,
That's the truth.
I got to tell you, Steve, welcome to the planet Earth. Despite claiming that his wife had similar episodes of alien abduction, that's where Jerry, look at the cute alien. I like that alien
Cool
picture.
looking,
Oh,
beautiful
yeah.
neckline. Mhm.
That's where Jerry's in
A nice
trouble. He was
jawline.
screwing around with
Yeah.
his wife. I can tell you that right now. He believes the implant led to his tragic divorce. My wife was not too pleased finding out that this and blamed me for it. He said, I think that was pretty unfair. How could you blame? You get abducted and some guy sticks something in you know where, and it's all, that's just a wife
your
that's going
fault.
to divorce you anyway. I'm not a marriage counselor, but I can
Oh
tell
my
you, she's gonna dump you anyway.
Oh,
I think that was
Lord.
pretty unfair, but that's how people react. It destroyed relationships routinely. Steve went on to say that the abduction led him to losing his job after he was fired for using equipment to analyze the suspected implant in his arm.
Mm.
But reflecting on the abduction, he said that it opened his eyes. It opened my eyes. I felt like I was part of this society and also their society. Okay. And also a member of the galactic civilization. Okay.
But you still need a job.
And you're not supposed to use your boss's stuff on your personal stuff,
I personally don't see where he's been accepted by the Galactic Federation because he got something planted somewhere, rather than just an obscure human being trapped from an obscure planet. It's hard to know sometimes which feelings are yours and which feelings were put there by aliens. So, did an alien cause his divorce, or do they really want to date an alien? You know what? There's people dating aliens. Amanda, roll that tape.
Our next guest probably holds the record for the biggest long-distance relationship ever.
Just over a year ago, Emanuela Rose claims that she was abducted by a UFO, and once on board, she met 5 aliens.
Well, after getting to know one of them, she's fallen in love, and he's now become her boyfriend.
Well, desperate for him to propose, in fact. She joins us today alongside Emmanuel, whose spirit she has placed in the body of the inflatable doll. Good morning to both of you, I guess. Welcome. It's lovely to have you here. Just to sort of clarify, really, so he doesn't have a physical form like a human that we'd expect. So the doll is here. You explain.
Yes, the doll's here is a placeholder. And also, thank you for having me. Good morning. You guys are so amazing.
Thank you.
Aliens love the show, by the way. And
Oh,
they're
good.
watching today, his pals. We'll get into
It comes
that.
as no surprise.
Yeah, they do. They're learning so much about humans from the show because you touch on so many topics.
Oh,
So
good. Happy to help.
Yeah, he's a placeholder. So my alien boyfriend communicates with me telepathically. So he uses the power of his mind. We don't speak to each other. But because aliens are love and light, it's a lot of kind of powerful vibrations to behold as a human being.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me on a daily basis to just like hug and hold him. So it's like a symbolic representation.
Of
Because
what you're feeling.
I'm
As a
assuming
boyfriend.
that this is one particular alien, because we say aliens, it is a vast universe. So much like Star Trek or Star Wars, there must be different ones, loads of different ones. It just so happens to be that this particular species of alien is the one that's visiting us. Or are they all the same?
As far as I know, see, my boyfriend doesn't want to tell me too much because the less I know, the less the FBI can kind of interrogate me, if you see what I mean. But basically, there are many types of aliens. It's not just one. Some of them come to Earth, some of them don't. But in general, nobody wants to really come here. You know, we have this like entitlement situation with humanity. We feel like people want, the aliens want to come here and take over the world. But in the alien communities on other planets, it's like a downgrade to come to Earth. Like when they get sent here, it's like, oh no.
They don't really want to be here.
Yeah.
But there are some that are here all the time.
Yeah.
Can you spot them?
Not really, because they're invisible to the human eye.
Oh,
But
I
like
see.
when they want to be seen, then they become seen.
So let's go back. Let's go
Yeah.
back because how you met's pretty interesting, and this all started with a post on Instagram.
Yeah, it did. I don't know how this works exactly, and he hasn't told me. But so originally, my thing is I'm an actor, and I have an Instagram, and I post a lot of fun stories about my life in London and dating and stuff like that. And I started doing these little sketches, these little jokes about Tinder and Bumble, and how it would be better to get abducted by aliens than to do another date on Tinder.
Well, be
basically.
careful what you ask for, because
know.
that's exactly what happened.
So not only do these aliens watch the telly, but they're also on Instagram.
Mwah. Me and Tara have our alien boyfriends. This is Huey.
Oh, my God.
Better than Tinder for sure. No trouble with Huey.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh
Oh.
my God. Well, you know what they say. Just like they made the movie, Earth girls are easy.
Oh my God. Well, that's an interesting story, Chris.
Yeah. I really had to dig for that one.
Oh, my God.
Just goes to show you why I'm never on Instagram.
Right.
All right, here's another one from my favorite guy, Yuri Geller. Or Teller, or Geller.
Geller.
Whatever way you want to say it. Yuri Geller says massive alien invasion is coming.
Oh,
The
Chris.
famous psychic Yuri Geller claims that the Earth is waiting for a massive invasion of aliens. He got bought of those sneakers and dropped some acid probably when he bought. He says he stumbled upon a conversation between higher beings 4,000 light years away, according to the Daily Star UK. Yuri Geller warned NASA to prepare for a massive alien
You're
invasion
killing
of
me.
Earth, which will take place in the near future. I've been hearing that since we've been throwing rocks at each other.
Mhm.
Okay, anyways, heading in our direction, he announced on Instagram, there you go, Instagram again, baby. A team mapping radio waves in the universe has discovered something unusual that releases a giant burst of energy 3 times an hour, and it's unlike anything astronomers have seen before.
Wow.
No doubt in my mind that this is connected to alien intelligence way superiors than ours. Start deciphering their message. They are preparing us for a mass landing soon. Astronomers said they have never seen anything like the mysterious new phenomenon before. They believe that it could be a neutron star. I'm just doing the neutron dance. Star or a white dwarf in a super strong magnetic field, which is called a magnet star or a magnetar or something to that effect. Astrophysicist Natasha Hurley Walker of Curtin University in Australia. It's not hard to get into that university. This object appeared and disappeared for several hours during our observation. It was kind of spooky for the astronomer because there's nothing known in the sky that does that. And it's quite close to us, about 4,000 light years away and in our galactic backyard. Amanda, show that tape with Yuri there, baby.
Psychic named Uri Geller contacted NASA claiming that aliens are preparing for a mass landing and might soon invade the Earth. He urged to start deciphering their messages. Uri Geller warned of the looming invasion through an Instagram post where he shared a picture of an interterrestrial object and wrote a small note alongside it while tagging NASA. Uri Geller claimed that a team of scientists who were tracking radio waves have discovered something unusual in the space that releases a giant burst of energy 3 times an hour. It's unlike anything astronomers have seen before, he wrote. Uri further claimed that the energy is connected to alien intelligence. Concluding his note, Uri warned that aliens are preparing for a mass landing soon and wrote, "Start deciphering their messages." According to a report by the Daily Star, the 75-year-old illusionist suspected that the scientists who discovered the energy source 4,000 light years away may have incidentally come across the aliens. Describing the energy source, astrophysicist at Curtin University in Australia, Dr. Natasha Hurley told Daily Star that during their observation, the object kept appearing and disappearing over a few hours. She further said that she believes it to be an ultra-long period magnetar, which is not far from our planet. She added that it's a type of slowly spinning neutron star that has been predicted to exist theoretically. Last year in December, Uri Geller had told The Sun that he was confident about the existence of extraterrestrials and had claimed that aliens would invade Earth not in hundreds or thousands of years, but as soon as within 60 to 75 years.
Bring it on. I'm
Now,
ready to go.
I got something to share because I went with this Uri Geller stuff. I wanted to find out what would the United States do if there actually was an invasion. Amanda, you want to roll that second tape?
Oh, no.
If extraterrestrials received our signals long ago, now it's too late for us to hide.
Any society that could do that, any society that could come here and threaten you, they've got bigger antennas than we do. They can already pick up our television, our airport radars, all sorts of stuff. So we're already telling them we're here.
Pandora's box might already be open. At this very moment, aliens could be en route to Earth.
Fenster und Türen geschlossen. Die Regierung arbeitet an einem Notfallplan. Das Militär ist in Alarmbereitschaft und bereitet für einen möglichen...
Und was machen wir jetzt?
Keine Angst. Hier sind wir erstmal sicher.
If there are more intelligent, more powerful, and therefore more dangerous civilizations out there, we should be very careful about contacting them.
These fears are not unfounded. In the history of mankind, when a new country or continent is discovered, it has always ended tragically for those who are conquered.
The less technologically advanced culture experienced pain. In some cases, death and extinction. In some cases, slavery.
An invasion of militant aliens could end the human species. If the battle begins, those who could hide in time would be the only survivors. Aliens would need a motive to fight Earth.
It is possible to conceive of other civilizations who are at war in the cosmos and who are perhaps desperate for new territories or new resources. And they may look at the Earth and say, this could be our new home.
Would universal war with extraterrestrial life be plausible solely for our resources?
With so many planets out there orbiting stars that will have water and carbon and all the elements that are on Earth, there's no reason to come to a planet filled with life.
This is an alien attack!
Our planet is home to 7 billion people, to aliens. The most interesting resources on Earth might actually be its inhabitants.
If they are warlike, it would be like Godzilla meeting Bambi. It would be no contest whatsoever.
Godzilla meeting Bambi.
I hope we're not Bambi.
No, that's not how it's gonna go down.
I don't think so.
No.
So ridiculous.
Oh, I just think this whole alien thing. Look, there's nothing you could do about it. If a civilization that's 45,000 light years, or years of more advanced than us, comes here and says, "Hey, we don't like you," yeah, all you gotta do is say, "Okay, bring on the pain," because there ain't a damn thing you're gonna do about it, right, Katie?
Yeah, that's right. But we come in peace, and I hope they will too. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
but, I hope it happens in my lifetime. That would be awesome.
Yeah, you know that the planet Earth leads by example. So when you want to see peace, all you got to do is look around the planet.
Oh, yes.
And that's something I want to talk to Alan about, is this whole threat narrative. What's going on with that? But anyway, that's a whole other topic.
All right, Tara, final thoughts.
I just think that we got to listen to all the sources and not just Uri Geller, and, keep our minds open and see what happens. But I want to know this year too. This year.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, that's the news this week.
Put the message out there this year. All right. Is it time for Case of the Week? It's a short one this week. All right. Case of the Week. Okay. It's case number 127917. This is a recent case, January 4th of 2023 out of Bose, Alabama. This is, again, a Cat 1 case. I'm loving these Cat 1 cases. It occurred at 4:39 p.m. and the witness states, "I was outside looking at my pictures on my phone and my granddaughter came out and asked me if I was taking a picture of that. She said it was not a plane, and I looked in the sky and I saw something I couldn't explain. It was white and moving in an odd way, and it had no sound. And a few minutes after it was gone, another strange object appeared, but when I would try and take a picture, it just looked like a blurred ball. After it disappeared, there were at least 2 planes in the area, and this case was closed as an unknown UAV. So, Amanda, let's run the video of that first, and then we will look at the pictures. Thank you. Now, the still frames of the video, the photos are a little more interesting looking. So, Amanda, if you want to put up those few pictures, there's the first one. Kind of odd looking. I mean, it's
strange shaped.
Yeah, and then there's the ball I think she was trying to get a picture of. So, Chris, what do you think?
Well, the picture looks like it's divided. It's almost like there's something in the middle connecting, like the two. I'm going to call them Tic Tacs for right now, but it looks like there's 2 separate ones there in that one picture. Could you put that other picture up, Amanda?
Kind of like a zigzag.
The other picture, Amanda? Yeah, that one there. You see how in the middle, it looks like there's some kind of darkened space, like it's almost separated?
Yes.
Yeah. Me and a friend witnessed something very similar to that a few months back. Well, actually, it was right around the time of the symposium. Yeah, isn't that unusual right there?
Yeah, now one of the things you got to be careful of, certain cameras, when you take a picture in the sky, sometimes there could be a reflection, and that reflection could be just a simple airplane. and it'll look like very distorted just simply because sun reflection from the aluminum.
Right.
Right.
But
It's not a plane.
No. I'm just saying that one thing in the middle kind of makes me interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Tara?
Well, it's interesting he's seeing it as two objects. I kind of saw it as maybe one that was moving quickly when the photograph was taken. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So that's the case of the
Cool.
week.
Very cool.
Did we catch up with Bob this week?
Yes, we did. And he has a great
Awesome.
video.
Okay,
Amanda?
good.
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing. I'm MUFON's Director of International Investigations. And today I'd like to show you a short piece of a video that a gentleman sent in where he claimed that an object was hovering in the sky, star-like object, and that it kept twirling around, going down behind the trees and coming back to the same spot it was in. When I looked at this video, it rang a bell about something I had seen before, and after I thought about it, I came to a conclusion about what I saw. If you could hear the whole video, it's very funny because this witness waits for this object to do the little razzle dazzle that he believed happened the first time, and it never happens again. And I have a reason why. So I'm going to let Chris and the gang play about 20-30 seconds of this video, and we'll analyze it after that. Whenever you're ready, guys. Okay, so if you look to the center, there's a white dot. If you look to the upper right-hand corner, diagonal from the center dot, there's another one.
There you
and
go.
then if you go down from the top dot towards the right side of the
Come on,
video,
circle around
you'll
like you
see
did before.
three what
Up,
seem like
down,
blinking
and around.
objects in a row.
So just back and forth for me. Come on. Dive.
And of course, the objects do not move for this gentleman. So again, let's look.
Just some more funky
Object in the
maneuvers, man.
center,
Come on.
one above it to the upper right, and then down to the lower right, three objects in a row. This person was in Tennessee, and they were looking north from a southeast position. That's it, Chris. You can turn it off now. Okay, so when I thought about it, those three, what seemed like blinking lights, they looked real familiar to me. So I went to Stellarium, which is an online planetarium, and I basically put my feet exactly where this gentleman was standing, the direction that he was looking at. And Chris, can you post the picture? He was looking at Betelgeuse in the middle of the picture, slightly orange. Up to the upper right was Bellatrix, another star. And of course, the three stars in a row there in the lower right that make up the belt of Orion. He was looking at the Orion constellation, and he believed that Betelgeuse was actually moving around, going up and down behind the trees. Without doubt, this is an IFO. So that's it for today. I'd like to thank Chris and the gang for having me on, as they do every week. And hopefully next week I'll be back with some more interesting IFOs, UFOs, and others. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
That's what I thought he said was Beetlejuice. He says it's Beetlejuice, and I went,
Beetlejuice.
wow, okay.
It's great video, though.
Unfortunately, we do get some of those reports quite often. So yeah, Stellarium is really important.
It is. And one of the things people probably don't realize is when you stare at an object in the sky, your eyes will play tricks on you, and you think it's moving,
right?
But it's not. And so you got to be very careful when you think, oh my God, the thing is moving up there. It must be a UFO. And it's really just a planet or a star that your eyes are playing tricks on you.
So true. So true.
Zigzag.
Yep. Good case. Good case, Bob. It's always good to learn too. So, all right. Is it that time to bring on our guest?
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Let me read his bio. It's quite lengthy, but I didn't want to shorten it because it's so good. Okay. At the age of 12, Alan had a life-changing experience with a childhood friend when they witnessed a UFO from the back seat of a car as they peered out at the dark, starlit New Jersey sky. This experience solidified his interest in all aspects of paranormal phenomena, including ufology, cryptozoology, parapsychology, and metaphysics. He has followed the ongoing research ever since. His entry into paranormal media began in 2015 as a guest host on Ken Cherry's Epic Voyages Radio, where he also served as technical director. He later began his own live 2-hour podcast entitled Paranormal Now, which eventually moved to right here on KGRA-DB. And now he rebroadcasts as the newly titled Mystic Lounge on the UnX network and is available on YouTube. Alan also has a short form podcast called Coffee and UFOs. I love that. Can't live without the coffee. Alan has been a guest on several podcasts and online radio shows, including Jimmy Church's Fade to Black. Alan directed the documentary called Half Light, which is available on Tubi. I don't have that. Yeah. And also on the Mystic Lounge website. Cool. In 2021, Alan was also featured in and co-produced the 2-part documentary series Sounds of the Dead, EVP and Life After. Alan is a co-producer and co-director of the documentary Born Equal, which explores the case for LGBTQ equal rights through the lens of spiritual belief systems, world mythologies, and science. In 2022, Alan gave a lecture entitled The Importance of the Paranormal at the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum in Pine Bush, New York. We saw Alan there. It was a great time. He recently screened his documentary Half Light and presented a question and answer with the cast of the Treddy Efren Public Library for Mainline MUFON, hosted by Jennifer Stein. Love Jennifer. His website is www.paranormalnow.net, or you can find it at mysticlounge.net as well. Please welcome to the show, Alan B. Smith.
Hey, guys.
Hi. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Alan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on, and the tables are turned. I know you've you've interviewed me a couple times. Now I get to interview you. And one thing I was so excited about, and I watched it actually a couple times, I'm not going to lie, because I'm a like big fan of Tyler Henry. He was a guest recently on your show on Mystic Lounge. Tell me about what that was like. Of course, Tyler Henry does a television. I'm not sure what network it's on, but he does the Hollywood Medium. And I've been a fan ever since that show came out. So I want to hear you tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get into UFOs.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sharing that information.
Yeah.
Tyler is just a genuine person. Absolutely. And you know how when you interview people, you get some moments beforehand to just chat a little bit before you go on. Yeah. And he's no different. And you can actually see in the interview, he's not constantly trying to put up a facade of like being some, mystical guru and having all the answers to metaphysical questions. He's quite humble about what he doesn't know. Right. Which kind of jives with the whole Mystic Lounge thing, because part of the reason I renamed the Paranormal Now podcast and the YouTube channel was because I love the idea that accepting what we don't know is part of the thrill, and those mystical experiences.
Right.
And paranormal, unfortunately, the term was really appropriated by, I want to say, like early 2000s television, where anything paranormal was ghost hunting. Mm-hmm. And then, maybe cryptids or something like this. And so when I was young in the 90s and in the 80s, paranormal included UFOs.
Yeah.
It was all part of the same. It was basically anything Fortean, anything unexplained and deemed unnatural according to how we understood the natural world. And so, I realized that people were associating the guests that I would have on with those kind of paranormal topics. So I wanted to change gears. But yeah, Tyler, and I didn't want in that interview, I didn't want to just sit there and ask him questions about, I don't know, somebody in my family, or constantly ask him questions about the afterlife, because his book that I read and enjoyed Hereafter, he talks very much about the application of his experiences, living in that liminal space,
right,
receiving from one side and talking to the other side. And it's very much like a self-help kind of a book, but with that, mystical spiritual twist to it. And his acknowledgement of not totally understanding what he's communicating with, I think is something that resonates with me, because I was raised Catholic, and I had decided many years ago that just wasn't for me. For me personally, there were just too many changes in the rules and the laws, contradictions that my rational mind couldn't reconcile. And so I definitely have shifted majorly into an agnostic state of mind when it comes to anything spiritual or paranormal, to be honest. And I have a part of me that is also very much sympathetic to atheism, because you see this in ufology, the kind of struggle back and forth of scientific rational approach to the study of this bizarre phenomena, and the acknowledgement that there's some really weird stuff going on that is unaccountable for in any kind of traditional interpretation or observation. There's no way to kind of measure it in ways that we can understand in a concrete fashion, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. First of all, Mystic Lounge is a great name because it's mystic. So it encompasses anything outside the realm of anything normal. Yeah. And lounge has got that kickback, laid back feeling. I love that. So one question I have about Tyler, and then we'll get off of Tyler, but did he have, and does he believe, did he have any UFO encounters, or when he channels, can he channel like aliens and off-world beings? And does he believe that exists? And is he interested in UFOs and ufology? I'm just curious.
He's very interested.
Oh wow!
He's cool. If you go to his Twitter page, you'll see like how constantly up to date he is, and he's met the likes of Gary Nolan, and who knows what kind of conversations they had together. But he is definitely a believer that there's something going on. He did have, it's in his book, he had an experience with an orb.
Okay. Ooh, not what color.
If I recall correctly, I believe it was blue, like bluish green. I think. Don't quote me on that. But this was different for him. It wasn't something that he attributed to being a spirit. Right. And in fact, if you think about someone who spends their life, their career communicating with the other side, right? Allegedly, these are spirits that are sending messages and images to him. The fact that he was freaked out by this orb, because even for him, it was completely out of his own realm of experience or understanding. Right. And so, in fact, he called in his boyfriend at the time and his mom to come and witness it. Right. And they did, at least caught the very end of it. Yeah. And it did a kind of a very strange behavior. It was like floating and then like dropped down and then like sparkles and boom, gone. Like it was a very like sort of magical, like mystical, contact of some sort. Yeah.
I've experienced that same blue orb ball, so I get it. Yep. Wow. Interesting. Wow, that's interesting. Okay.
Alan, we're going to get back to Tyler because there's a couple of things that I want to ask you questions on that you had mentioned concerning, the whole thing about consciousness and communication and everything. But one thing that I think all the listeners want to know, how did you get involved with ufology and the paranormal and all this stuff? I mean, there had to be a point in time where you said, hey, you know what? There's got to be something to this. I got to check it out. I mean, because you're a very strong ufologist.
But I appreciate that. I don't know how strong I am, as I just became a field investigator in New York.
Yay!
Under your
congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you got the postman on the show.
Yeah.
Where are you in trouble?
Now the work begins.
So I'm still in that kind of early. I'm working on my first case, which was supposed to be something really simple, Chris, but actually it's really interesting.
None of them become the simple ones are the ones that you go, oh my god.
Yeah. So, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But in the 80s when I was a kid, right? I saw E.T. the Extraterrestrials at my aunt's house. I remember it. And there's a scene where Elliot's in the cornfield with the flashlight, and E.T. comes out, and and E.T. screams. It scared the hell out of me. And I remember, I was sitting on the floor watching the TV, and then I just booked it. And I remember running to the stairs.
I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah,
no, I know. Yeah,
it was scary.
It was scary for a little kid. Yeah. And but I came back, right, and kept watching it because I was so intrigued. And that to this day, probably partially because it's a nostalgic thing, but it is my favorite movie. With the John Williams score as well. It's just, to me, it encompasses, and Spielberg's great at that kind of schmaltzy in a good way, encompassing the best of us as human beings. And so that's why it sticks with me, and it's my favorite movie. But I don't think, even though that intrigued my interest in anything like that, I was also into dinosaurs, and Godzilla Meets Bambi. It's one of the best animation films of all time. So for anyone who hasn't seen Godzilla Meets Bambi,
I haven't even heard of it.
Check that one out.
Yeah, it's a short film. You'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it was that
put up much of a fight.
Actually, you probably find it on YouTube. Anyway, so it wasn't until I was around, in the bio, around 12 years old, where I had a co-witnessed experience seeing a UFO. And granted, it was a light in the sky, but it certainly moved. There was two lights in particular, but this one moved in such a way that didn't make any sense. That kind of, we hear this often, like the zigzag, darting from one side, darting to the other side. And then the way I describe it is it went up into the upper atmosphere, like a shooting star in reverse.
Oh, wow.
So helicopter, no. Plane, no. With the jagged movements, not a bird. The only thing you could possibly be remotely would be a fly, but this was a big bright star, kind of in the four of other stars on a clear night, looking out the window. Now, of course, we're in a car, we're driving, and we're moving, so that certainly does affect the perspective a little bit. But those strong movements were clear, and I just haven't had anything since then that can explain what that was.
I will tell you that I had a similar. Well, first of all, as you know, because I've told everybody this, when I first got into ufology, I actually tried to want to debunk it. I was a skeptic. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I thought it was all a bunch of hockey punks. And so from a skeptic, I became a believer. But it's amazing how a movie will actually change your attitude, because I saw The Exorcist, and that movie right there scared the living daylights. I couldn't sleep for a week without every light on. I was burning candles and sage, and I couldn't sleep at all. To this day, I don't want to read anything about demons. You know what? It just let that subject go.
Yeah, I keep wanting to revisit it, and now that I'm hearing you describe it, I want to revisit it even more. Poltergeist was really, it wasn't directed by Spielberg, but it was produced by him, maybe co-written, I'm not sure. But there's something about those 70s films that they felt so grounded and real.
Oh yeah,
they did.
There was a grittiness to them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you see that little girl's head go spinning around like that,
Okay, well, that was a little.
My daughter did that as a teenager.
Run away. Well, Alan, I have a question on that. Then this experience with the UFO or the orb that you saw, how did that turn into your interest for the paranormal then, and turn into where you are today? How did that change you?
Yeah, I think it was a confluence of things. So obviously, the entertainment that we grew up with as kids, which you would, if you didn't see it in the movies, you would catch it on HBO or replayed on Sundays on a television station. And so, back then, really, you were exposed to kind of the best of what was available, because there just wasn't that much content like there is now. And so, these networks would curate, quality films for that Sunday, matinee movie or whatever it was. Yeah. And so when you did watch a science fiction film, it was something that kind of it held some gravitas, and so that combining with in the late 80s, early 90s, the only parallel I can draw to it is what we saw in 2017 with the New York Times UAP report. That big thrust of interest, that's the only equivalent I can make to it. But in that time period, there were shows like Sightings, Unsolved Mysteries, The X-Files, Twin Peaks, which I didn't catch until later in life. My wife actually introduced me to Twin Peaks, which I'm very grateful for. And then there was just, a deluge of that kind of content, TV specials, Debbie Caldwell, her story was told in Intruders, right? And so Linda Moulton Howe, then by then I was totally in. And anytime I walked into a bookstore, I always went to that New Age section, which again, that's where UFOs were. It wasn't in the UAP section; it was in the New Age section.
Right, that's right. I think they still are there. So, Alan, I know that we talked a little bit about this in Pine Bush, but do you connect the paranormal type things, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, paranormal happenings to the UFO phenomenon?
Yes. And it's interesting because in the MUFON journal that just came out, Dave McDonald kind of addressed this with MUFON because there was a lot of concern about what do we do if you come across some paranormal experience that someone is reporting on the MUFON site. So the quick answer is you don't reject it, right? So in MUFON, I guess it's not the focus. The focus is the anomaly that you're investigating, but you don't disclude any other information. So if they have said, "Oh, I also happen to see a Bigfoot," then that goes in the report.
Correct.
But you're not doing a separate Bigfoot investigation report.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because it can get a little. I mean, maybe MUFON can have like a sister, division that would do that. I think that would be kind of cool. But it gets a little bit sticky when you start bringing all these things together, because each one is a difficult enough mystery. Like it's a challenge unto itself. And then when you start trying to correlate parallels between the two and how they interrelate, then I always tend to lean into a more metaphysical description, because I don't know what else to call it when those events converge. But I definitely think that what sometimes people think they see as a UFO could be a paranormal experience, meaning it wasn't necessarily a physical extraterrestrial craft from wherever, visiting here. That maybe it was an aura. Maybe that's what I saw when I was a kid. Some kind of other manifestation of some sort that wasn't an object, a craft. And I call it a UFO. I interpret it that way. I would report it that way. So then there's that's one side of it, and then there's correlation between paranormal experiences, like here in the Hudson Valley. We're not far from like Tuxedo or Sleepy Hollow, and Pine Bush. Obviously, are hotspots where people aren't just seeing UFOs. Bigfoot encounters occur all up and down the valley as well. So is there something behind that? Is there a reason that that's occurring? In the Pine Bush area, Pine Bush is literally wedged in between. If you can kind of like imagine like a figure of like a valley, right? It's kind of wedged in between this hotspot of electromagnetic energy, and a lot of the UFO hotspots are in those zones where there's higher electromagnetic that are usually, because of high levels of iron in the rock, or some other geological explanation.
Pine Bush is like ground zero, because you got water there, you have nuclear power plants there, and you have the electromagnetic anomaly that's there too. So I mean, you're talking about three things colliding in the same spot, Alan. Alan, I want to show you something, because when you mentioned a blue orb, I have a picture of one, and I want to know if it's something similar that you saw.
Oh, interesting.
That's interesting. I mean, for me, what I saw when I was a kid was it was white. It looked almost like a big planet or a star. Tyler Henry, I don't know what he saw, but
similar to what I saw, and so
Yeah.
same shade, that powdery blue I always talk about.
That's interesting. And Chris, when did you see that? What was that?
No, that's actually from Pine Bush, and
Oh.
a homicide detective sent that to me, who wants to remain anonymous. It's totally off the record, but he had sent me that picture and said that he had just gotten home, and he went out on his back porch, and he saw this thing high in the sky, and it was coming right down toward the back of his field. He had a field in his back of his yard, and all of a sudden, this thing, his blue orb, is hovering. So he went to go grab his camera, and he grabbed his cell phone, and instead he said, "Chris, I was so excited, I ran right into the sliding glass door without even opening it."
Whoops. I've done that.
Bam and stuff. But he comes out, and he was able to take about 3 or 4 of those pictures and stuff. But I mean, we're starting to see, and especially in the Pine Bush area, a lot of orbs. Triangles were the flavor of the month. But now orbs seem to be the thing down in Pine Bush. I just wanted to see if you recognize that as anything that you saw when you mentioned a blue orb.
Yeah, no, not exactly, but it is interesting because you said there's that conflux of things happening. You've got the water, you have electromagnetic energy. And what was the other one you said, Chris?
Oh, you got electromagnetic energy, you got water, and you got nuclear power plants.
Nuclear power plants, right? Yeah, and so then on top of that, if there is, and I know it's like, very, very speculative, but if there's a consciousness aspect to this, I do think that just like Stonehenge or just like Roswell, if you have more and more people visiting an area with the intention or hope of seeing something, or just sort of celebrating it, like the Pine Bush Fair, right? And now there's the Pine Bush Museum. They give tours in the museum regularly, or semi-regularly. There's talks there. I gave a talk. Others like April Bussett, who's a psychic medium, gave a talk there. So there's this consciousness, concentration on these subjects. Maybe that sort of conjures up, and I don't mean that in like the old magical way, but maybe it's an attraction of sorts.
Well, Alan, that kind of brings me up to a question too, and we're almost coming up on a break here, but kind of the metaphysical end of this, I'm really interested in that as well, in the consciousness part of that. And what are your thoughts on how this is communicating with us, or are we seeing some of this stuff within ourselves and we're projecting it out there? And do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that in some cases that's probably true. I've done psychedelics, and others have reported, on a psychedelic, you will experience something that really comes from your own psyche. But it almost like a dream, and it's kind of built around what's going on in here. Like we were just watching that documentary. Will Smith was talking about taking ayahuasca and what he was experiencing there. It's like almost like something kind of plays out as if it's really there, but it's playing out, and it's your subconscious trying to take you somewhere you maybe have been afraid to go, and I think that with all things paranormal, there's definitely an element of living out like a modern myth. So like the myths that we grew up around the campfires, storytelling, classical myths like Odysseus's journey, or Native American myths where the hero or heroine goes out into the world and typically is plunged into kind of the darkness in some way or another, and they have to face themselves. I mean, a really modern good example of this in storytelling is, and this movie I don't like, but there's some good elements. It's called The Last Jedi. It was a Star Wars movie, and the character Rey has to, like, she falls into this dark side pit, and then like faces a mirror, and in the mirror, just like an endless reflection of herself coming back to her, and so that motif we constantly see in mythology and mysticism as well. We see in modern day reports. It's not that much different when someone is I don't know, maybe hunting in the woods, and they have an encounter with a Bigfoot that's kind of staring them right in their eyes, and it just chills them to the core. Then Odysseus, facing a Medusa. I mean, it's that idea of having to confront ourselves. So I wonder, sometimes is it a projection of our psyche, or is it just part of reality? And that's part of how
that's so interesting. Maybe we're manifesting some of this. That's interesting. Real quickly before we go to break, Kathleen Hagar in chat wanted to know where your sighting was when you were young that you were talking about, and what year was that approximately?
I was about 12 years old.
Okay.
So yeah, around, I want to say it was 92, I think.
And where was it?
Yeah. Oh, in New Jersey. Yeah.
Oh, in New Jersey. Okay. All right. Have you ever researched that to see if you found any similar cases around the time that now that you have access to CMS?
I know. Yeah. And then it's so funny on my phone. I have like my file now with like all of these apps to use, for investigating.
Right.
No, because I have no idea, like month or date at all.
Oh, right, right. And that's sometimes
that's
hard.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I would like to get more into this consciousness piece too when we get back on the other side of the break. So we'll see you in a few minutes.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletters, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small esoteric getaways are limited and do feel vast. So, go to MysteriousAdventureTours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Right, welcome back, everybody. Okay, so on the whole consciousness piece, that kind of brings me into what you might think of like the CE5 protocols. Alan, what do you think of that? Are we able to do that?
I think it seems possible because I've spoken to people, Katie, that that I believe, you know, are able to do that. You know, there is I do wonder, like, if sometimes it's a coincidence if you do it enough. But some people say, like, when they're really in that state of mind, that they're able to just like really focus and call down is the word I'll use. You know, a UFO. If I don't know how many people remember Prophet Yahweh. He was a gentleman, I think, from the Texas or the West Coast, and I heard him first on Coast to Coast AM. And there was a time in the early 2000s where he was doing that, and he was just a solo guy. He wasn't a part of like a CE5 group of any sort. And there's one video, I think there was more, but there's one video in particular where, you know, a local newscaster like goes out to meet, you know, Prophet Yahweh, and the guy called down something. It's on camera.
Really?
And
Wow.
it's one of those videos I watch over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, maybe just accidentally some sort of like cellophane balloon or whatever. But I need to go out and try and find it again. But, you know, as he was doing it, just shortly after, this thing, like, you know, white object is a daylight, you know, object, and it comes down and moves and I can't remember if it, you know, flies off or whatever, but it happened. You know, so unless the local news station set this up, you know, they would have had to have some kind of like advanced drone at the time, especially in the early 2000s, to pull that off. So for me, I think that was really a compelling video. If extraterrestrials do want to communicate with us, they seem to be doing it in a very enigmatic way. You know, crop circles, for instance, or just like many of us, the most sightings you see are lights in the sky that are behaving really strangely. Or I was just listening to UFOT podcast, and one of the stories that they were sharing, Kat, was when she was young, and there was a UFO, and I think it was Nebraska, that it was like way out in the distance. She grew up near an airport. She was familiar with, you know, airplanes, and so she thought it was just an airplane, and then it came close, and it came super, super close, like right above, you know, maybe a couple 100 feet nearby a barn, and it was a UFO. There was no denying it, but then it was gone. So what are they trying to communicate? Because what's the point of doing any kind of contact like that unless you're trying to achieve something? Either that, or, you know, the teenagers are smoking a blunt and going for a joyride.
Yeah, but Alan, don't you think that in some ways with crop circles and telepathy and things of that nature, that they're trying to increase our awareness of consciousness? Try to, you know, how do you make a person communicate better? Well, you give them a problem and you watch them solve it. If you want to make a person go to a higher level, you don't just tell them, hey, do this. You have to teach them so they can achieve it. and I think that's what a lot of alien species try to do. Not all of them, but some of them actually try to increase our consciousness levels to try to give us a problem and have us problem solve it. Now, once we solve that problem, we'll get another one and we go on to another level. What do you think about that, Alan?
Well, that's what I agree to a degree, because I don't really know what's happening, but it seems to me that there's something purposeful going on.
Agree.
Right. And so what's the end game? Obviously, it has to do something with our consciousness, because we're just conscious beings. We're aware of what's going on. And they're not making full contact and say, hey, this is who we are. Nice to meet you. Let's be friends.
I just don't think we're ready for contact, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we're still a primitive species in some resorts. And I think some species are trying to educate us to get our act together.
Yeah, but here's the problem with this is that unless we change, our brains biologically evolve, I think we'll always be in that same dynamic, because let's just say the whole world, every country becomes a democracy, and all countries respect freedom, and we constantly try to improve ourselves as human beings. Well, we've seen other civilizations come and go. The Romans, with aqueducts, somehow they forgot to do that, right? The Greek Empire had come and gone. Egyptian Empire had come and gone. In the Middle East and Iraq, there's a period like 800 to like 1,000, something like that, where we get our numbers that our number systems from, and math was developed in a way that studied the stars. So like in the sky, there's all these stars, right? And the stars are named after not Greek or Roman. So during these periods of time, we seem to be evolving. And I was just watching Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about this recently. Like in Iraq at the time, it wasn't just that people were studying the stars and astronomy and science. I mean, we've all heard about the Baghdad battery, right?
Yeah.
But it was a place where people were there was tolerance for other different types of people and different types of religion. So as human beings, we're inherently flawed, and we can backslide at any time. So unless there's something fundamental that changes about how we function intellectually, I don't know. I mean, I would be afraid to hand over whatever technology I had if I were an alien, right?
Yeah, right. I wouldn't give it to us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I'm curious to know what your perspective is on, our role here in the universe. And to me, I don't think the universe is a bunch of independent things, but these experiences that we're having are part of it, our evolution, and we're intimately connected with these systems and these interactions. And so it's more of a process. And so hopefully we'll grow by these, and our brains will change, because kind of Katie has said this several times. Once you get connected, other things open up sometimes, or you see things more. And that's really exciting, I think.
Yeah, there's like the zone. People talk about it, in work or in sports, but it's in life too. Like sometimes you're in the mode, and things kind of just come together, and you're kind of making the right decisions, and things sort of flow. But it's never a permanent, at least for me. It's never a permanent state,
right?
But I think it's something worthy to strive for. Some Buddhist monks would argue that that they're there, right? They're there like all the time. It doesn't mean things aren't imperfect, or they don't have challenges, but by focusing so much of their time on expanding their consciousness and their connection to, the greater reality, whatever that might be,
Right.
that they're able to tap into that kind of metaphysical flow. I always loved the imagery from the movie Donnie Darko, where there's this kind of wormhole looking, like worm type thing that's like coming out of him and like pulling him, and he's kind of just going with that flow. So I really like that, because it's like it's sort of just showing you what we feel. And I appreciate that, because I do think that there's a way to get locked into the right path for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think, Alan, I want your opinion on this as well. I think, as a young kid of the 80s, I'm not going to give away my age, but I think this consciousness, and, Tara and Chris and all of us are discussing, changes in how we are. And I think with these young kids coming up, that we're seeing this change like really fast in different ways. Like these generations, I almost can't, it's changing so rapidly and in such a good way, right? I think kids are more open to the phenomenon, and in MUFON, which we all know can be a bit older audience, we're always like, how do we get the young people involved? Well, at least with my kids, that now they're all over, the age of 20, but they're so open to a lot of these new concepts and ideas that for them, it's not even a question anymore, where we're all seeking and trying to find answers. They're like, they just believe. What do you think of that, Alan? What are you seeing in that?
Yeah, well, it's different, because when we were growing up, there was more space between exposure to anything or any conversation. So if you read a magazine or a book or watched a movie or documentary, there was time to kind of just let it sink into your head,
That's true.
for a while before the next thing, whatever it might be.
Yeah. We had to wait a whole year to see it again,
or a week. I mean, maybe it was like Sightings. I love the show Sightings that went up, at the time, and but that was only however months out of the year, once a week. But now it's literally like constantly every day. I mean, if you just
bombarded.
Jump on Twitter, it's so hard to keep up. But the cool thing is, and we started experiencing this in the early days of AOL chat, was that you can at any time go online and have intellectual conversations with other people. On Twitter, the younger people especially have group chats, like live group chats together, and just have open conversations, right? Open floor conversation, and they're asking questions constantly. So that is where I think a lot of the younger people find themselves and resonate with that approach to it. However,
right,
I think what happens sometimes with that is it's like, I love that. I mean, that's what we do with these podcasts. We love chatting and talking about these things, and I could speak about the same subject a million times with different people, and it's going to come out a little bit different every time.
Right.
But if they're so stuck in just talking about what's happening in the news, philosophizing, then there's for me, there's a fear that there'll be less and less people actually going out and investigating and gathering data, rather than just spending all your time scrutinizing other people.
finding out for yourself.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's good in a lot of ways, but also sometimes it gets a little cynical. But that was kind of why I got to the point where, after interviewing people for so many years and having an interest in this, I wanted to just do something myself and be active and participate, and do my small part in collecting data. And because I was listening to that interview with Ryan Graves and Gary Nolan recently, and Gary Nolan makes a really good point, and it's that there are different ways of approaching science. There's people like him and others who just let's just collect the data. Even if we don't know what to do with it, let's just bring it in, so that way later on another mind who is more synced to a particular problem can look at that data and maybe go, oh, I know what to do with this. I can create something out of this and build from that point. And that's what MUFON and NICAP have been, and others have been doing for decades.
Right.
And like Cheryl and Linda Costa,
Right.
They're massive to statistical analysis.
Data.
Yeah, like I don't know what to do with it, other than it's a nice reference to have, in particular conversations. But there's going to be someone who's going to come along. Hopefully, the U.S. government will actually look at it, and make something out of that, and come to some kind of conclusion, or go, oh, you know what? I can build a device or a software to analyze this.
Alan, and I think you're absolutely right. Just recently, ufology got into the idea of actually collecting data. I think Linda and Cheryl Costa were the pioneers to that. And then a few other people tagged on. MUFON collects data, NICAP does, and some of the other agencies. But I think you need young minds. You need more minds to get into the ufology field, to start doing the research and development on that data. And this comes out of the chat room. And I think I think what he's trying to ask is there a possibility we be talking about extraterrestrials or ufology in a higher learning environment like college or community colleges or somewhere where we can get younger minds to start thinking about this subject and to make this subject something that scientists want to get into? Now, I mean, you get very few scientists that touch this subject, but the ones that do are brilliant. Like Gary Nolan is one of them. Kit Green is another one. That comes to mind. And these guys really take this ufology subject to the next level. So, do you see it being, now that it's really coming out and bursting out at the seams? Do you see this actually being taught in schools and maybe college level and stuff?
Well, actually, there is a course. I was just asking Jesse Peak about this. He's a ERT team and field investigator in Philadelphia. I don't know what college it is, but there is a course studying this now. I think it just started in 2022. But I don't have a link. I'll have to look it up. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is a good sign. That, and there are parapsychology courses in other colleges as well. So then that's been around for a while.
But you want to get the ufology course. You want to get the course where, they're maybe not always nuts and bolts, but to be able to say, hey, listen, this is what we know about it. The only thing I'm afraid about when this education stuff really starts coming out, that we have instructors, teachers that really know this stuff, and not somebody that is been working with a blue chicken, with the galactic force, far, far away in the galaxy, trying to develop new toilet seats. I mean, it just gets absolutely ridiculous with some of the stuff. But there's a lot of good ufologists out there.
Yeah. I just saw the comment from Eric about MUFON chat rooms. I know that MUFON has just recently launched its own internal chat room. Yeah, but I think that would be kind of cool if there was a public chat room where people can come in and just chat with other investigators, even if maybe MUFON members or something like that. But yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
So Alan, you mentioned the government. What do you think of this new bill that was just passed for, whistleblowers and that? Are you feeling this is a good direction? And do you think people will come out and start talking?
I do think it's a really good direction. I tend to be way more optimistic, I think, than a lot of other people.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Contagious.
And you know what, though? I think maybe I'll feel different in 30 years from now. But I think it's an age thing, too. So online, when people are looking at this, they're going, okay, this isn't fast enough. Why aren't you just coming out and telling us? Why in the recent report, for instance, why are you withholding so much classified information? Because they're getting impatient, they're getting frustrated and angry. And then me in my early 40s, I'm like, I'm like, this is nice. I'm glad I'm glad they're saying that it's safe for you to come forward and share your experience. Because before we saw it, especially when the popularizations of UFOs really blew up, like in the late 70s and the 80s, the number of jokes on anyone who even just saw a UFO, the humiliating nature of it was not mean-spirited in the sense that they were meant to be mean, but if you were a pilot for American Airlines or a Navy pilot, or maybe you were just any level in the military or government intelligence community, you would not report that you saw a UFO, and if you did, it most likely wouldn't go up the chain of command. Of course, on occasion it did, but it was just oftentimes kind of like, oh, okay, well, we're just gonna not talk about this anymore. And now, between the 2022 report and the 2023 report, it was indicated there was like 500 and something additional sightings by military personnel between the period of I think several months in 2022. So there was this massive spike of reports, and that was because there was this narrative coming around saying, hey, it's going to be okay for you as a pilot to report what you saw, and you will be protected. You won't be scrutinized. And your job, your reputation will no longer be in jeopardy, because this is a legitimate occurrence. And that's why the release of the videos, the gimbal, the Tic Tac, were so important. Like, even if you look at the Tic Tac video, and you say, well, at one point the sensor kind of zooms in and it creates the illusion that this object moves off screen really fast, but really it was just the camera zooming in, which on that point I tend to agree with, but that's just one of many aspects of these. But okay, so let's just say that we take that one standalone point and go, it wasn't moving at 22,000 miles an hour. It was the FLIR camera kind of just zooming in real quick. Okay, but it's real. And that pilot saw something, we captured it. And there was also other corresponding sensors and human sensors, our eyes seeing this thing and making it real.
It's really interesting how the narratives have changed throughout the years, Alan. And as a young kid, I was going to ask you about, did you talk to your friend about this, who you was in the car with? And maybe back then that wasn't something you did. And now the narrative seems to have also changed to that these things are threats. And how can that be? I mean, they don't seem like threats, but I mean, what do you think if there's a threat narrative going on?
I mean, I think the only way for those in the military or in the intelligence community that want to actually study this, the only way they can do that is to say it's a potential threat, which by default it is. Not an aggression, just a potential threat, because you don't know what it is, and it's maneuvering in ways that way outperform our technology. And if it's spying on us, well, a spy is a potential threat too, because what kind of information are they, garnering about how our technology performs? And that's why a lot of exercises were canceled when they would see these things. I don't know if that's the only reason why, but exercises were canceled when there would be these encounters with these objects. And so that's the only way, in my mind, to get Congress and others and the general public to take it seriously. Because as long as the general public thinks, oh, they're talking about extraterrestrials, then they're not, their representatives aren't going to get the same support. or at the very least, the representatives will get a backlash from their constituents if the constituents think they're spending taxpayer dollars on investigating extraterrestrials. They're not, right?
Right.
The narrative is they're investigating a potential threat, so that's acceptable.
Even certain shows are having like threat narratives and threat meters and threat this and threat that, and I find it hard to see that, because my experience has been that hasn't been what decades of research is showing, but that's another thing.
Yeah, although my favorite alien movie outside of ET is Independence Day, and that was pretty much a threat.
Yes,
right. It was. From the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, you never know. Maybe your Jetler's going to be right one of these days. One in probably a billion. But anyways, what would you say? Nothing's happened yet. I mean,
I know.
Well, it is what it is. I want to ask you about disclosure. Disclosures. Everybody's been saying, "Oh, it's coming this year," and it doesn't come. "Oh, it's coming this year." Did you see the last congressional hearing on UFOs done by the chief of Navy Intelligence and the Department of Defense
last year? Right.
What's your opinion of that fiasco?
It's funny. So there's a lot of critique of the 2023 report, which just came out, which I disagree with, except for the fact that it's withholding actual data. Like, we're not seeing any data in it at all. We have X number of reports. At least with that hearing, you saw some video, but we all know there's way better footage out there.
Well,
absolutely. And so that was and that was the part that I think upset most people and upset myself a little bit too, because it's like, we're going through this trouble. You have the media, you have these Congress people, putting their time aside for this hearing, and you're giving them like the softest explanation and example. And it was a little bit of a waste of time in that regard. But at the same time, I hope that the DoD's idea here is baby steps.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the 2023 report. It's a baby step, but it's a step forward.
Wow. I never seen such slow baby steps. My granddaughter,
it's like they
only a year old, can move faster than the U.S. government.
They're crawling a little still.
Well, they kind of cracked the door and then kind of slammed it shut again, in my opinion. And I mean, how ill prepared can you be? And I mean, how uneducated you be? I mean, I know we're all kind of involved in the field, but there's some big, the Battle of Los Angeles, where we, and they're like, have we ever, engaged with a UFO? And I'm thinking, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating. It was so frustrating to watch that. So Alan, I'm going to take you another direction here. Mm-hmm. I know, congratulations, by the way, you just became a field investigator. Yay. And for all those out there interested, it's, a little different than a lot of people think it might be. A lot of people have these grand visions of having their go bag and going on site and taking soil samples and all that. And to be honest, the vast majority of what we do is behind our computer screens, looking at Stellarium and Heavens Above and Flight Radar 24 and that. But like every now and again, we get some really cool cases. But what are some of your favorite cases in ufology? Did you come in as a skeptic and turned into a believer? And what were some of the cases that kind of convinced you that, wow, there is something to this?
I came in as a believer, as a youngin, and I absorbed all.
Whippersnapper.
As a young whippersnapper, and I enjoyed like everything I can get on the subject, right? But then it was actually after starting the podcast, then that's where I became actually more skeptical.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when you have the conversations with lots of people that are making really big claims, you start to get that little kind of like sensor of when you feel like, I don't know if they're telling me the truth. Is it a fabrication, and or is it an embellishment? embellishment I don't mind as much, right? Because it means that they had a real experience, but maybe they're adding to it, because maybe they like the attention, and on occasion it does happen for sure. Like for sure. And so because I was experiencing that, and I had a couple of guests where I had to take some deep breaths during the interview. And one person made some really crazy claims that were anti-Semitic, and I was like, whoa, okay, not cool. And so then that's where that kind of skeptical thing came. But that doesn't mean that most people who are talking about these subjects and claiming they have an experience are sincere. And I'm working on this first case, and as I was saying, I was really surprised because it was a report that was placed recently in the CMS, and it was from 2001. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be pretty easy, right? They usually don't remember all that much detail, or there's nothing, you can't go on site and take samples, right? It's like,
Right.
not that I'm there anyway, but so I was like, okay, this is going to be a good exercise just to get used to entering the data and going
Yes.
through the
Right.
motions.
There's a lot of data.
Yeah. And there's a lot of data.
Pages.
Because I thought that I was going to be on the phone with him for like half an hour. And it was a solid hour, and we could have kept talking, and I could have, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. Like, I had other things to do, and so did he. But he's in his early 60s, this gentleman, and he was in Queens, and so I'm familiar with, because we lived there for some time, so I'm familiar with the area, and there was something kind of special about that. Because I've had a lot of people on the show from all over talking about their experiences, but interviewing an actual witness in an area that I'm familiar with, it kind of makes it a little bit more tangible.
Right.
It's because I can get a feeling for the place and the space, even though I didn't live there specifically at the time.
Right.
And he was telling me about this craft, and he was leaving his apartment in the morning around 6:15, as he recalls, and so it was light because we're around June, and he looks up to see what he described a cigar box, not a cigar shape, but a cigar box, and it was like a charcoal black. And he could see the surface, and just enough that there were no windows or anything like that, about 20, 30 feet or so above a building nearby. And he thought it was about maybe 200, 300 feet away from him. And he watched it eerily move. So it starts moving like in a northern direction, then stops, and then raises up, 5-10 feet, stops, then shifts and goes back down and stops, and then proceeds, steadily, towards the northeast. And
wow.
And he's in an area which I'm familiar with, which is pretty low buildings. And there's a huge parking lot nearby, which he was right on the border of. And watching this thing happen, he had that moment that we all talk about. He was like, do I run inside and grab my camera? And he couldn't. He was fixated on the object. So obviously this is not a piece of balloon floating by, or and it wasn't making any noise. It was 100% silent, and it would move in a way that it would stop permanently in position and then continue. So unless there was the silent drones back then that were shaped like a black rectangle, I don't know what it was. I really can't. And so I was
going to say that brings up a good question. And I've had conversations with other field investigators. I'm sure Chris and Tara have too, where when you don't have video and you don't have photo, and the testimony lies solely on the witness testimony.
And it's historic.
And it's historic.
Yeah.
do you and can you close those as unknown things? And what's your opinion on that? I know what my opinion on that is. I'm curious to see what you say about that.
Well, I still have more work to do, right? So I need to go back and see if there's, put in a range of dates and just see if there are any other reports similar to that within that time frame, because at least we have a general a date, so I can work around that. And if indeed there are other reports, maybe of a similar object, that might actually, I mean, we can't know for sure, but give me an actual day, and then I can take it from there. Now, there is LaGuardia Airport, which is pretty close, but it couldn't have been a plane. Right. It was also early in the morning. It was quiet. In this part of Queens, it wouldn't have. It's not like Manhattan where it's like, and it's just not. So, and it was big too.
Yeah, right.
It was like oh gosh, was it 200 feet? I think you said roughly.
Wow.
In length, or was it? I'll have to look it up again. But something large.
Right.
Yeah. And
yes.
So I don't know what it is the point. I have no idea. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of, as a field investigator, that's what spawns me on. It's so interesting and intriguing. You just want to keep going and figure it out because you think you should be able to, right? But Ellen, I'm wondering, what your thoughts are on abductions and people who may have experienced abductions, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. It's a really, really tough one. I do think that people are having abductions. The question is, what is it exactly? And I feel comfortable going there because of the people that I've interviewed. So, like in the documentary Half Light, Tiffany Mack describes alien abduction experience, but she also is very clear that she has had another kind of experience where it was the being sort of coming to her more through the mind and not like physically taking out of her home. And so to my mind, that kind of blurs the line a little bit. It's like, what is it? And she's also feels confident enough that she knows the difference between a dream and what she has experienced. So yes, the short answer is yes. Is it extraterrestrial, meaning from another planetary system, or is it something that comes from another dimension of sorts? And I know physics kind of leaves the door open a little bit, theoretical physics on that, but right now we just don't have. That's still speculative, so we just don't know for sure. It would be awesome if theoretical physics, if string theory, for instance, was proven, to be true without a shadow of a doubt. Then we'd be so okay. So there are definitely other dimensions of reality, and that will, I hope would invite the physicists, to join us and go, well, wow, okay. So now that we've proved this, now we can start building instruments to try to maybe breach the other side, if that's safe. I don't know.
I think we're getting close.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you say how abductions, that's another thing that's changed over the years. A lot of abductions now are telepathic or in the mind, and you're not necessarily taken. We've heard that. And where before you only mainly heard you were taken to a craft and put on a table or something like that, kind of basic. So that's really interesting.
Well, I guess one way to look at that would be, so the criticism is we have more cameras, and better cameras, billions of people now. Why aren't we getting great footage and more of this? So one, it's kind of a myth. There are tons more videos out there. Like you showed earlier, may not be an actual UFO, but there are videos out there. People are looking and seeing something in the sky and going, I'm going to try to catch this on the camera. Our cameras still aren't that great for, night vision. So that limits, what we can actually capture. But I think that they don't want to be seen anyway. And so if we have more people with phones up in the sky, that means, let's just say and aliens were abducting people physically out of their homes, well, that's a lot different in 1995 versus today. And perhaps then they are kind of forced to do a conscious contact of some sort, because they're trying, they don't want to be overtly seen. So again, very speculative, but on the one hand, like, you know, Chris and I were talking about earlier, what's the agenda? Because they obviously want to be seen to some degree. They're trying to get us to think in some sort of way, but they don't want to be seen overtly. So with all the eyes in the sky, it would kind of make sense that if you're trying to shift consciousness in some way, now you don't do it the nuts and bolts way. Now you have to use an alternative method.
Right.
Yeah, they certainly don't need headlights to travel thousands of light years to get here. So, I mean, the lights got to have, I mean, what do they got, low and high beams? You know, hey, let's turn them on for the humans. The humans can see it. No,
unless it's an energy source, right? So
yeah, that's probably what it is. I mean, but people say, "Oh, I seen the lights and stuff." Nah, they're not lights. But anyways, I want to talk to you more about your documentary. You did a documentary, and I'd like you to get into that and tell us more about that documentary.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, the documentary is Half Light, and it can be found on Tubi, Tubi, and hopefully soon enough it'll be on Amazon as well. And you can also find it on the Mystic Lounge YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mystic Lounge. It started off as in the pandemic as a kind of a love story to the paranormal people, and people
with an alien. Because I just did a story on that one, baby.
Yeah. Well, people like you guys.
It was true then.
Yeah, totally true. Yeah, and it was wearing those. And I think it was wearing those really great high heels that we saw earlier in the program. But it was during the pandemic when everything really had shut down, and I was doing these like little bits and series of videos up until that point, and I just thought, why not, put more focus and try to find a commonality between this cryptid experience or that haunting experience or that UFO experience, so that, and because these are all people that I've interviewed previously and really loved, so I invited people to participate and be interviewed, and it ended up being like 15 hours plus. Of interview, because there was 12 people that are highlighted in the documentary, and so that's a lot of footage to go through and
oh my gosh,
and to kind of take note /transcribe some of it. And what I found was something really beautiful, which was this kind of through thread, even despite the negative experiences that were also reported. The through thread, the theme that came out of the documentary was that there's this push or pull towards evolving oneself to appreciating love and to being a loving person and to experiencing love themselves. And now there are certainly exceptions, abductees who would vehemently disagree and say, no, this is horrific, what was done to me, right? But most of the people that I had come across doing interviews, even during after a harrowing experience, they came out of it with a more curious mind about the nature of the universe. They become MUFON investigators, do podcasts of their own, write books, go to meetings. They're interested in the metaphysical and in a more spiritual life. So that spiritual ethos that's discussed there is all. This is all of it came from people having high strangeness experiences. AJ Rasmussen, she and it's not. I don't even know if I can really reconcile it, but her near-death experience was something very violent and tragic done to her, and coming out of that, she has just an intense desire to share what she experienced on the other side during that period. She feels like it's extraordinarily important that other people know what she felt and that she could share that with other people. And just like we were talking about earlier, there's always that parallel. I'm not a psychologist, but in mythology, going into the belly of the beast, facing the dragon, and getting hurt and coming out more evolved as a person. And I can speak to that only for me. I can't speak to other people, but for me, I had years of struggling up and down with anxiety and depression and addiction. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of my beast, right? And we all have that experience of kind of going into the dark night of the soul and coming out again. And for some people, it's a real physical world experience that it is shown in the documentary that creates a paranormal experience, or the paranormal experience itself is the dark experience that puts them on this trajectory of seeking love and light. So that, for me, was the most powerful aspect of it. There are moments in the film, like when Race Hobbs is telling his own story, like I'll tear up every time I was editing it, like over and over and over again. It was just so beautiful and moving. And I wanted people. I knew that the majority of the people that were going to watch this are people who are already interested in it, who are experiencers. But I wanted people who would come across it, that were kind of curious about it, to see that all these experiencers are able to rationally think through these experiences, that they're not crazies, as so often assumed, and that there are people with good hearts, like that really care about other human beings. And so, because I feel like sometimes I feel like in general, the representation that is seen by the general public of paranormal like-minded people is typically stereotypical, or only about the subject that the television shows are pointing their cameras at, the Loch Ness Monster, or what have you, and not about like the beautiful expression and almost religious or mystifying experiences that we've all had to some degree. And those experiences don't have to mean you believe in a god or anything like that, but they certainly are magical.
Yeah, I'm so glad you made that documentary, Alan, because you're right. That is a part of this phenomenon that's often overlooked, is how it affects humans, how the experiences affect us emotionally, and that whole transformation that so many contactees and abductees and experience, whatever label you want to put on it, experiencers go through, from that isolation, not being able to talk, depression, anxiety, almost PTSD symptoms, or you can suffer PTSD from these experiences, and then you brought up such a great point where I've never looked at it quite that way before, where maybe perhaps we're experiencing these because we're in this lower place, and it's challenging us to learn and to grow and to face that. So that's something I've never really thought about, and I'm really glad you brought that out to our listeners, to something to really ponder and think about. And I'm really glad that you've overcome and faced your battles, because it takes a lot of work and grit to do that.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's grit and support. And
support is a big one.
And love.
People who love you. Yeah. And believe in you, which is astounding, because when you're in that state, you hurt people along the way.
And it's good to have find your tribe too, and that's another great thing about, podcasts and platforms and conferences and all the ways that we get together, because before that we were very isolated and you didn't know who to talk to and turn to. So I think we've really come a long way since then.
There's something that you said, Katie, about PTSD, which I think is important, because as far as I know, in the literature, when someone if someone is diagnosed with PTSD, it's something that actually happened to them, right? So like the way the neurons reform and the way the brain is reprogrammed is real, something that happened to them. It's not a nightmare.
Right.
It's not a psychedelic trip on mushrooms. PTSD is measurable in the brain. Therapists, psychologists can diagnose this. And so when someone has that kind of PTSD and they say, this is what happened to me, it was because of extraction from my home, or I saw, the dog man in the woods, whatever it might be. The only explanation that more conservative scientists would say is that what happened is they had a real abuse of some sort from another human being, and they're overlaying some kind of fantastical experience onto that abuse.
Right. Yeah.
And on the surface, it sounds like, okay, maybe there's some cases where that's possible. But what you're also saying then is that these people are also incapable of thinking objectively. So I find that a unsatisfying explanation. But yeah, it's a Half-Light for everybody who was listening. The name of the documentary.
So
Half-Light.
interesting.
Yeah, PTSD is no joke. I talk about it every week on my other podcast.
Yeah.
And I've been diagnosed with PTSD for my time in the Marine Corps, of some of the operations that I went through, operational missions that I went on and stuff of that nature. But I want to get into something now. I want your opinion on something. Now, I want you to put your investigator hat on. And so I got a case about a couple of years ago where a triangle floated over the top of a lake, and it dropped a barrel-sized object into the lake. And we've been studying this now for a couple of years. And wasn't that long ago, now the lake is affected. And now we have this happening in the lake. What do you think your opinion is on that, Alan?
And that's where the object...
that place where the barrel was dropped is not freezing.
Wow.
Or a barrel-sized object is not freezing.
What county is this?
It's right near you, Alan.
Okay.
I'll tell you off the air.
Off the air. Yeah.
Yeah, but I and stuff like that.
Because when I saw it, I was like, that looks kind of familiar.
Yeah, it's right near you.
Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna have to drive by. Yeah. So. Okay. So when we think about in terms of the evidence of crop circles, right? What seems to be the case is that there's some kind of radiation exposure that affects the fibers or the cells of the stems of the plant, so that it can be bent in such a way that it doesn't snap or crack.
Yeah, but you're talking about a perfectly circle that won't freeze.
Right. But so if there is some kind of radiation emanating from below, then perhaps the immediate molecules of that water are, if not warmer, are moving differently. I don't know. It's other than going out and taking a sample of, the water in where the hole is, and then I have no idea. In the training, it talks about what to do when you're taking a UFO sample on Earth.
You're right.
But, I mean, but how far would you go out with water? Because water, it's
the control sample, right?
Yeah. Like, how do you get a control sample of water? But I guess it's the only thing you could do is go out there, take samples, and see what happens.
Now, I will tell you, in the same area, in the summers, they get an algae bloom there that they've never had before. Until
interesting.
Well, could the algae bloom be the actual? What came first?
The algae bloom.
Before the UFO.
No. This happened after the object was dumped into the lake. Now this is happening. The algae bloom and the lack of freezing of the water in that particular spot.
I mean,
You need Debbie Ziegelmeyer's dive team to go dive down it. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe
They won't let her in there.
They won't let her in.
Is it private?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Mm-hmm.
What if can we go fishing and then
I gotta throw this curveball at you, Alan. Now that you're part of my team, I gotta throw the curveball at you.
Well, I mean, what kind of spectrometers are out there? Are they long distance enough where you can stand off the property and get some kind of reading?
We might be able to get in there.
I mean, and there's certain
darkness.
Yeah. I was gonna say like some kind of FLIR.
You got
sensor.
a black sweater and black trousers.
Oh yeah.
And some charcoal.
The middle of the night. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Because that's how you're gonna get in.
Black cat.
Oh my gosh.
Are you taking the lead, Chris?
Yeah, no, I love to throw stuff out to. I consider you a top-notch ufologist. So when I find these top-notch ufologists, I love throwing things and getting their opinions of it. So I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No. I mean, have you requested any satellite images from that day?
What we have requested was water samples. We got some water samples.
You did? Oh,
yes.
Okay. Good.
And we know that we first thought it was phosphates and nitrates coming from, the lawns, when they fertilize the lawns.
Right.
That could cause the algae bloom. However, two things. One, if you notice in the picture, in there, the area where the algae bloom is, there's nothing by the shores. So the nitrates and phosphates would be more stronger by the shorelines where algae blooms would be prevalent, is right by the shorelines. But the water samples showed no nitrates and no phosphates.
How long was that anomaly there?
The anomaly, it happened the next summer, I believe, after the object was dropped in the lake.
Wow.
And the witness who saw it is extremely credible.
Oh, hey, thanks, Eric. Thanks for the comment, man. Thanks for
he's extremely credible, and it's a good case.
Yeah.
Oh, well, more on that case. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time here. Alan, it's been a fantastic show, and I hope to have you back on. Maybe we'll get some answers for this mysterious case in the case you're working on right now. I want to thank Tara Diulis, Chris, Jerry, and Jenna. I want to thank Alan for being here. I want to thank all our listeners. Thank you to Amanda Kieran backstage. We couldn't do it without you, Amanda, our producer. And thank you to Bill Skywatcher and everybody at KGRA. Until next Tuesday night, you guys all have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.